the betting brand for soccer fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Graham Arnold's side has it all to do after suffering a disastrous 4-1 defeat to France. Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab FIFA World Cup. I'm your host, Robbie Slater, and with me again is Andrew Durante. Well, Andrew, not the start we wanted. Hard day at the office.
Yeah, it wasn't the start we wanted, but there were some positives. It wasn't all doom and gloom, but yeah, a tough start for the Socceroos.
Coming up, we will map out the Socceroos' recovery plan, give you our take on England's hot start, and more big calls on this super tournament so far. Well, Andy, it was a tough start for the Socceroos. Tell us, where did it all go wrong? Certainly in a number of areas.
Yeah, a number of areas, but it was a tough opponent. When you've got the likes of Mbappe, you've got the likes of Giroud, Dembele. It was always going to be a tough ask. There was optimism that maybe we could get something out of the game, but realistically, I don't think anyone should have been too surprised with that.
Well, they have a world-class team and they played like that. If you're going to have a surprise, you need them to be a little bit off and you need to be lucky. But look, we got where we are at the moment, I think, but there's a lot of talk in the media, social media, about there needs to be changes against Tunisia. What's your take on making changes?
Look, I think the guys that started did admirably, but they were up against some really big opposition. They were working so hard. So for me, Mbappe can come in and give a bit more energy. I thought Goodwin was good, but tired legs towards the end, you know what I mean? And you've got Atkinson, who did well. He made some mistakes. I wouldn't bench him purely for the mistake of the second goal, but he had a lot of work to do against Mbappe. So
Mbappe was absolutely on fire. Best player in the world at the moment.
The best defenders can't stop him, so you can't be too hard on someone like Atkinson. So maybe Karadzic can start, a bit of fresh legs on that right side. And I think Degenek maybe at centre-back, I think he gives a bit more of a presence. They conceded goals from corners, from crosses, so
who does he come in for?
I think he comes in for roles. I think Suto was good. Yep. I thought when he looked forward and played forward, they looked a better team.
So on that note, if you look forward to what we've got, it's a must-win against Tunisia on Saturday night. Who leads the way?
Yeah,
is it Suto? Is it Lecky? Is it Aaron Moy?
Yeah, I think they all need to step up. I think Moy for sure. I think that first 15 minutes from the Socceroos was, the right attitude. They were on the front foot. They were turning France around, and it was an exciting brand of football. And then they kind of started playing backwards. So I'd love to see Moy, face forward more, play forward more. I think it became a little bit too safe towards the back end of that game, Robbie.
Well, if you look at Group D, the one positive that came out of our disastrous loss to France was the fact that Denmark didn't beat Tunisia. In fact, they finished 0-0. Because if Denmark had won that game, say a couple of goals or 2 or 3-0, it'd be very difficult from here. But Andrew, if you look at Group D, France look home and hosed to become the first champion since 3 years to get out of the group stage with a good goal difference now and 3 points. How do we get out of this group? How do we negotiate it now?
Yeah, again, Tunisia has to be the game that we get 3 points, and it's not going to be easy. I watched the Tunisia.
They were good.
They were good. They're exciting. They were, really attacking minded. They were fearless. It was probably the best nil or draw that I've watched for a long time.
It was a record that went back about 20 years. I think it's the first time there's been no goal scored and over 24 shots for about 20 years. So that's how good that game was. So it suggests also that they take points off Denmark, where we thought Denmark were maybe the best team in the group coming into it on form. So it leaves it delicate, and it means we must beat Tunisia on Saturday night. Who are the dangers for Tunisia? Where does it come from?
Yeah, look, I think Issam Jebali, the number 9 for them, was excellent. He got on the end of a lot of balls. He scored. He was ruled offside. And Asia Leidouni in the midfield, those guys were exceptional and really shocked me actually to how good they actually were. Yeah. So they're 2 players that the Socceroos really need to look at and try and nullify.
Well, if you look at the group, both France and Denmark were favourites to get out of this group. How do you see that now? I just said, and it looks like that France are well on their way, but Denmark not necessarily, and I guess that's the upset.
Yeah, it's up for grabs. I think second spot is up for grabs in that group, and we want the Socceroos to do well. They have to beat Tunisia. If they don't, it's over. So look, Tunisia could cause an upset and end up being second in the group. You don't know. They're a really exciting team, so we'll see how this unfolds.
Well, if you look at France, and if we say, okay, France are pretty much going to go, although that's a big game next, France v Denmark. If we can beat Tunisia, can we get past Denmark?
Again, tough, optimistic. Yeah, we can get maybe a draw out of that, and hopefully that can get us through to the next round. But look, I think Tunisia, if we don't get those 3 points, then tournament pretty much over.
Well, there you go. It's a big ask, but we have our fingers crossed, and I can tell you I've got everything else crossed as well. The Socceroos are alive and kicking, heading into the second week of the tournament.
The betting brand for soccer fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Well, can you believe it? Pre-tournament favourites, one of them, Argentina, are already playing catch-up after losing to Saudi Arabia. Now, Andrew, you must be still in shock. They're one of your favourites, Argentina. What went wrong?
Yeah, I think the whole world was in shock from a result like that. I don't think there would have been anyone in the world that would have tipped the Saudi Arabians to topple Argentina, but they were good in the first half, Argentina. They had some decisions of offside against them.
3 VARs.
3 VAR. One was spoken about after the game that it was questionable, but they still looked good. You know, they still had their moments. Saudi Arabia took 2 great goals. I mean, they were 1-0 down at half-time.
Yep.
They came out in the second half. They had 2 great opportunities to score. They took them, and then they just got everyone behind the ball, and they made it hard for Argentina to get their goal.
They certainly got enough injury time. I think they played, I think it was up for 13 minutes. I think it went to 15 minutes. But if you look at Group C, can Argentina still finish top? They take on Mexico next. Is that still on the cards for them?
Yeah, look, I think they can. If you look back at 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the Spanish team lost their first group game against the Swiss, and they went on to win the tournament. So, look, I'm not going to rule Argentina out. I still think they're going to be there at the end of the tournament.
I was at that game, and it's true. It was a big upset at the time. Now, I've been telling people football is coming home, and there are a few more believers now after England's demolition of Iran. Can we see a repeat performance? Can they do it again against USA, who had a draw, of course, against Wales?
They were excellent. Yes, it's Iran, and a lot of people will say, but they were expected. But the way that they destroyed them was pretty impressive, and so much young talent, Robbie, in that midfield. Jude Bellingham was excellent. Bukayo Saka, Sterling was good up top, and Mason Mount. I thought they actually surprised me to how clinical they were and how much they dominated that game.
And the surprising thing was Harry Kane wasn't on the score sheet. Unlucky better punters, because I had him to score 2. But anyway, we'll stick with him. Now, on Jude Bellingham, what do you like about him? Of course, he's starred at Dortmund now. What did you like about his performance?
He was excellent. He was everywhere. He was getting forward. He was controlling that midfield really well. He got the first goal to get the ball rolling, a beautiful header, a late time run into the box to score that goal. He's 19 years old. He's the 3rd youngest starter for England at a World Cup, so the future is bright. Rio Ferdinand even mentioned something about him being, compared to Lampard and Scholes.
Yep.
At that age, he's doing better things than what they were. So that's a big rap on him. You don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he looked excellent.
England started off the tournament, unbelievable form. Now, Spain is next for Germany, who, of course, was surprised by Japan in the other boil-over at this World Cup. This could be one of the games of the tournament, considering how good Spain were against Costa Rica and Germany losing to Japan. So they can't lose this game, Germany, but how do they stop what looks like, and we have to put it in context, were Costa Rica that bad or was Spain that good? But 7-0 is a statement.
And that's my second team. I picked Argentina and Germany to go to the final, and both of my teams have lost to underdog teams, so I'm not doing too well in that department. But Germany were good. Germany were excellent in that first half. They could have gone on and been 3-0 up. They hit the post several times, so they were good. But Japan came on, and a substitute came on in that second half, and he completely changed the game for them and got the goal. But Spain were outstanding, Robbie.
Okay, so who wins? Spain versus Germany?
I'm going to say Spain. Spain were exceptional. Yes, they played Costa Rica, but that midfield of Gavi, Busquets and Pedri,
unbelievable.
They were just phenomenal. That was just a masterclass in how to play football and dominate a midfield.
Well, there are some massive games coming up for several of the World Cup powerhouses.
The betting brand for soccer fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Well, we said from the start that this looks like a very open World Cup, and a number of results so far have backed that up. Andrew, are you still sticking with Argentina? That was a nightmare.
Yeah, look, I think it wasn't a great result, obviously, against Saudi Arabia, but look, I think they're going to be too good. I think they will end up coming out of the group for sure and progressing deep. When you've got Messi, Di Maria, Martinez up front, I think they're going to be still deep in the tournament. And what about you in Brazil?
Well, I'm going to stick with Brazil because I think with Neymar Jr., I think he's going to have a big tournament, and the quality they have around the park, I think they deserve to be favourites. Who else has impressed you so far?
Look, the Spanish were excellent. They kind of flew under the radar a lot. No one really spoke about them pre-tournament, but they were excellent today. England as well, France. I think they're the three highlights of the tournament.
That have stood out. Spain were incredible. Yeah. And the young boy, Gavi. I mean, what a future he's got ahead.
18 years old, Pedri in the middle and Busquets, they were absolutely dominating that midfield. They were sensational.
Okay, if we talk about those ones that have impressed you, who's disappointed you?
Yeah, look, I think, disappointing result has to be Argentina.
Yeah.
Everyone was expecting them to absolutely smash Saudi Arabia, and for them not to do that was probably disappointing. But look, like I said, I think they will still progress. Is anyone really you thought is disappointed so far?
Well, I think Argentina and obviously Germany getting beat by Japan. But if we look at the tournament now, and we've had a good look at it, can you see anyone, apart from the heavyweights, that's going to come and threaten to take the title?
Look, the only one that we spoke about was Netherlands. I thought, they were my dark horse, and I think they've actually done really well in that first game against Senegal. Senegal were really good, so it was a tough test for them, and they came out 2-0 winners. And one that I don't know if they'll progress really far, but I like the USA. I think they'll get out of their group. I don't know how far.
That's only because they're playing England next, and you're anti-England.
I'm not anti-England, but they were good against Wales. They drew against Wales, but
they probably should have won.
Good. That's right.
Well, if you look at the Golden Boot, there's been plenty of goals, and the only surprise in England's demolition of Iran that was Harry Kane wasn't on the score sheet. He was my tip for the Golden Boot, but I look at someone like maybe Giroud, got a double for France, and of course Saka for England. He got 2 goals because we know, if we go back to the last World Cup, 6 was Harry Kane's total. So if you've already got 2 in the first game, you're on track.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, I had Benzema in there, obviously, with him being out now. Giroud steps in and takes the mantle of the goal scoring. He's on 2 goals, like you said. Saka will be instrumental for England, so he's someone that's crept into my tips as well. But I still think Martinez from Argentina, I think, he will score goals. He scored 2 goals that were disallowed
they don't
on
count.
The weekend. They don't count, but he's there and he's such a good finisher, so I'm going to keep him in there.
Well, it's going to be worth the lack of sleep to see just how it all unfolds over the coming days and weeks. Well, that's the show for this week. Thanks, Andy. Good to see you, mate.
Thanks, Robbie. Looking forward to some more sleepless nights.
There will be. Don't forget to subscribe below and follow us on the socials. See you next week on Fox Sports Lab FIFA World Cup.
The betting brand for soccer fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.